Hello there and welcome to Clearview TV. Well, as we have been promoting for some hours now, it's time to bring you this special edition of the program. And for the next 1 hour or so, it's going to be a woman's world. I am Ojon Bello and my guest is Celia Hibbert. Celia is an elected Wolverhampton City Councillor who came to prominence by actually battling with some men. And we really believe that she's been doing well over there. So you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
The program.
Thank you.
Well, the little we know about her, we bring it to you now as a prologue. Celia is an elected Wolverhampton City Councillor who came to prominence by unseating the opposition and as a result became the first black councillor for Penn Ward, where she primarily represents. Celia currently sits on some prominent committees such as the Transport Delivery West Midlands Combined Authority as Vice Chair, Wolverhampton Planning Committee, and Birmingham Airport Consultative Committee. Celia Osakwe Hibbert is a proud mother, a wife, and above all a community activist. Professionally, Celia's background is in sports education with a bachelor's in English and a postgraduate in sports and exercise science. She holds FA coaching and referee qualifications where she puts to good use in football initiatives across cities in United Kingdom. I will just go straight to this point now. You are into politics. That area is considered a man's world.
Absolutely.
You are into football, primarily considered a man's world. We have two there. You are a black woman in a white man's land. That's number 3. You are a woman in a predominantly man's world, that is politics. How are you coping?
Okay. It's never been broken down to bits like what you've just done. So it's mind-blowing hearing from you, actually, because all these things happen subconsciously, but you breaking it down now, it just brings to life, the amount of, work that I'm doing, the amount of how much in the opposition that I am in. But I like a bit of challenge, like you've heard and read from my bio. I've always been in a male-dominated environment. I like challenges. And actually growing up, I used to be a tomboy. So I think it's a culmination of all of those factors that has got me where I am today. So I'm used to rough and tumble, which is what goes on in the pitch when you play football. I used to play forward. So I'm used to people, tackling me and me tackling back and dribbling and taking out the ball and taking down the goalkeeper. And I think it's the same format as well that we use in politics world. Because when you are trying to get a seat and then it happens to be a seat that the opposition is holding very, very strongly, then you're going to have to put those tactics from the football world into the political world. And I think that's how I did it, actually.
What do you consider to be the ratio, man to woman, in UK's political system?
Well, you would have thought that in a first world country that, we're going to have 50-50 or even more of a woman, considering the Queen is in charge in England. One would have just taken for granted and said, oh, we're going to have more women. But that's not the case. It's still a male-dominated environment. It's still rough and tumble. It's still a bit of misogyny goes on still. I think in Parliament we have about 35% of women, and we still see that as like we've gone forward. But people like myself and a lot of feminists and upcoming female politicians, we're calling for 50-50% representation in Parliament. Because come to think about it, women are more than 50% of the population. So I see absolutely no reason why we shouldn't have 50-50 or even more women in the Parliament and in cabinet positions. And, ministers, shadow ministers as women, I don't see any reason why not.
All right, if you don't see any reason, are you having it? Are you having the 50-50?
Well, we are fighting for 50-50. That is one of the things, especially I'm a member of the Labour Party. In the Labour Party, we are pushing absolutely hard. And if I was in charge of the manifesto, I would push for, rotational representation of whoever the Prime Minister is. It should be 8 years or, 4 years male compulsorily. And then the next one becomes a woman. It should be rotational because, like I said, is dominated by male. If it comes down to vote, the men vote the men. So we have to enforce it. We have to enforce it. I think there's no way, there's no other way around it. We're not going to suddenly have influx of women into politics because it's a male dominated, it's a guarded territory. They don't want the women there. So what we have to do then is to work from the inside in terms of changing the policies, the legislations, making sure that we have, we safeguard the women's place in politics. And that way we'll be able to attract more women into politics. That's how I see, going forward.
In Nigeria, in Nigerian politics, women appear to be suffocated. Is there any situation like that in UK?
Yes. Yes, up until today, up until tomorrow, women are still suffocated in politics. But again, me personally, I think...
You are not suffocated.
I think, well, usually they can try. They can try. But, it's natural when there are more of something in the room, the lesser representation gets suffocated. So it's a constant battle. You're having to push back. You're having to reassert yourself. I mean, just recently I was talking in the chambers and the men were trying to literally boom me down. And thank God for social media. It was all up on social media and people were gutted. People were absolutely disappointed with that. So we're using channels, new medium like social media to bring to light the amount of misogyny that goes on in the chambers and to tackle it, in all fronts. So, there is suffocation that goes on. But, when you're signed up to be in a male's environment, you've got to play rough when the time comes because you're not going to sit down and let them manhandle you or make a mincemeat out of you. You're going to have to fight back.
You are black.
I am black.
Have you ever experienced segregation or a kind of situation like, women, will you keep quiet? We whites are talking here.
Not that blatantly anymore. I mean, we're in the 21st century. Yeah. This is not, back in the days before Martin Luther King went up to fight for the rights in America and across the globe. We're not in those, dark ages anymore. However, it is subtle. And it's even more dangerous because it's subtle. Because people are thinking, oh, we don't have these challenges anymore. So we don't have people carrying billboard, placards, fighting on the front lines against segregation, against racism. It's few people who do that now. And that's why I say it's dangerous because racism is now swept under the carpet and you think everything is right. But when you now zoom in and use a micro, just blow it up, you then find out that we actually still have, a copious amount of racism that still goes on. But having said that, there are still opportunities, for black people, which I'm a testament to. Okay. I've only relocated to the United Kingdom in 2008. So having got to where I am now, I still believe that, to some certain extent, there is, they are receptive, but yes, there's still a bit of racism there.
You are into about 2, 3, or 4 committees. I know one of the committees you are vice chairman. Which committee is there?
One of my favorite committees actually is the Transport Delivery West Midlands Combined Authority, which is so in all the local authorities, 2 councillors have been sent in the regional level, and I'm lucky to be one of those, and I'm very grateful. Each day I'm actually very grateful for that because every single time we go in the community, we go out there to see what's going on in terms of, rehabilitation of the train lines, tram lines, investments. You learn every single day. Don't forget, UK is the 6th most richest country in the globe, so their projects are cutting edge. You see things firsthand. You're privileged to see those things from the incubation stage until when they are the state of the art projects, and you're thinking, I'm actually part of the committee, that signed off this. I'm actually part of the committee that, was able to advise on how this should look like. And luckily, we have the Commonwealth Game in 2022, and it's coming to our region, the West Midlands. Yay. Yeah. So I'm happy about that. So we are like doing a lot of construction at the minute, making sure we have really fast network transport to be able to cope with the capacity of the people that will be influxing into our region. So a lot of work. This is the best time, to be on that transport committee. So, yeah.
All right. How did you enter politics? From your parents or just childhood fantasy?
Wow. Okay. How did I enter politics? Well, I'm not going to say childhood fantasy, because I grew up in Nigeria, and as a woman, you wouldn't really have a fantasy of being a politician whilst growing up. I mean, it's going to be an unrealistic one, So, but when I got, I would say partly from my dad, because my dad was like a local politician. He would have meetings in the house in Jos. He was heavily involved. I was born and brought up in Jos. He was hosting meetings. Some really, really top politicians now used to come to my house when I was young. Then they weren't even top politicians. For example, Roches, they used to come round. We had several. My dad would have meetings every single evening. So I saw all of that. He would go out to meetings. He would be a chairman of this and that. So it's amazing how much you assimilate unconsciously. Unconsciously, those things are registered in my head. Unconsciously, I knew I wanted to serve the community. Unconsciously, I knew I wanted to be in the rooms where those concrete decisions are being made. Unconsciously, I was groomed, basically, in the good way by my dad. So when I started to grow up, I became very much I worked a lot in the community. I would always volunteer. I would always go out there and be in the meetings. And then as soon as I moved to the United Kingdom as well, I quickly found my foot in the community as well. People really know me as a community champion. 6 months or so into my being a councillor, I was shortlisted for the National Community Champion in the United Kingdom, which people thought, she's only been a councillor for 6 months, how come? But because of my vast work in the community, that's something I enjoy. Is my hobby. Every spare time I give to the community. So it was then a natural progression, really, because a councillor is just you're elected to serve the people. So it was a natural progression for me. So a bit of that and a bit of my dad's influence. That I think that's how I got into politics. And my immediate elder brother is also running in Nigeria. So the election is next week. So he's running for the House of
House of
Representatives.
Oh, okay, next week.
Next
That's
week,
House of Assembly.
Yes, in Imo State. So I would say yes, it's in my family a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
You came around as an election monitor, election observer. You were in Imo State, right?
Yes.
You were in Imo State. How did you access the process?
Well, first of all, when I was picked as one of the delegates to come back as an international observer, when I contacted Nigeria, some of my contacts in Nigeria, and of course my family, the first thing I heard was, don't you dare come back. This is the most volatile of all times, the election period. How could you stay where your people run off during election? You want to come back? That is crazy. So it was.
With the little you have told us about yourself, I know you want to say, I'm going. I will go.
Well, now with 2 kids, sometimes I think a bit. I'm not, I'm not that adventurous. Actually, I'm still adventurous, but I apply a bit of caution. But I slept over it, and I thought a country like Nigeria, it's not negotiable that it has to change. It's not negotiable that people like myself, I believe I'm talented, people like myself have to come back and serve. You think about the suffragettes. Some of them paid the ultimate prices. I mean, nobody's even telling me to throw myself in front of the king's horse and die. It's just to come back and serve your country, and whatever happens, I'll be happy, like a soldier who's died on the front lines. I'll be happy. So I said to myself, you've got to go. you've got to go because at the end of the day, the stakes are high. We have a country of almost 200 million people. We must start having brave people from that 200 million to pay the prices that are needed to be paid for Nigeria to be fixed. And I think I'm one of those people who have a lot to give. So I thought, I'm going to go. So that was how I got back. And yeah, I think the election was great. But I think we still have a bit of teething problems because one of the situations in the different polling units was the card readers were malfunctioning, and we had the arrival of the electoral materials. It was meant to start 8 o'clock, and some of the units we went to were arriving at 2, and the sun was blazing hot. People were having to wait long times. I had to step in some equations and say, this mom is a nursing mom, you need to serve them first. This person is frail and elderly, you need to serve them first. Some of those things you would pick up in the first world country. I had to say, you need to change the priority because these people have been waiting for a long time. But one thing I can say to you categorically is that democracy has come to stay in Nigeria.
Great.
It has come to stay in Nigeria. So make no mistakes, in the next 4 years, I can guarantee you that the stakes will even be higher in terms of transparency in our democratic system. I have absolute no doubt that it is going to get even stronger and stronger. We are evolving, and we are going to get stronger as a democratic country where people's votes do matter.
That's a good one. Celia Hibbert is my guest on this special edition of the program. What she has just been talking about now has to do with the recent election, presidential and National Assembly elections. And I'm sure if Professor Mahmoud Yakubu were to be listening now, he would be very, very happy. Little knocks, but a lot of kudos. The program continues now, and let me move towards sports. You are a footballer.
I was a footballer. I still play recreational football. In fact, just a couple of months ago, we played politicians versus media in United Kingdom, and I was the only woman who played in both sides. There wasn't any other woman I played. And yeah, the women were happy and said, yes, this is what we want. We want to see women there when the men are there. So the politicians were all men. I'm the only woman. The media were all men. They didn't even have a woman. Shame to them.
But you are into football administration.
Yeah, I'm into football.
We want you to describe your functions as a football administrator.
So sometimes I would referee, sometimes
you do referee?
Yes, I do. I'm a qualified referee, FA qualified referee.
What are you looking for?
So I'm an FA coach as well. So,
FA coach?
Yes. So I would referee, I would coach. There are a lot of startup footballs that go around, because some parts of the United Kingdom are plagued by obesity. So some of the ways we tackle it is by outdoor activities. Because of the weather, predominantly it's cold. So most people stay indoors, which adds to the obesity. So we're trying to get kids more outdoors so they can play sports. And a game like football is it's perfect to, in that mission of trying to bring down the obesity rates. And my daughter, who is 9 years old, plays now professionally as well. She's in a team. So I watched her the other day score a fantastic goal. And I said, that's how you do it. That's how we do it. I was so proud. And the guys were like, okay, calm down. But it's competitive.
Yeah, the guy is younger. The boy is young. The boy
is a girl.
The two of them?
2 kids are girls.
Oh, they're girls.
Yes.
Okay. All right. We'll go on a break now. And when we come back, we'll open our phone line. That's one. Then two, I want to know from Celia how she's coping as a mother. Stay with us.
calling from Niger State, Medical Power.
Oh, this is Anissa from Benin.
My name is John, calling from Niger.
My name is Ahmed. I'm calling from Kogi State.
This is Clearview TV, and this is our spread through free-to-air via Niconsat and online.
Yes, this is Bifus calling you from Adamawa State.
Adamala Ahmad Ibrahim.
Mala Ahmad Ibrahim daga wace jiha kenan?
Daga Yobe.
I'm calling from Benue. My name is Chukwemeka. I'm calling from Niger State.
You can imagine how far your advertisements, social announcements, official notices, and jingles will go if you patronize us. It's time to take your messages far at the Yeah, welcome back to this special edition of Governance Today, and I have Celia Hibbert. We have a caller from Kaduna.
Thank you very much.
Yes, that's Kunle, right?
Yes, Kure.
Kure, all right. Kure from Kaduna.
Yeah.
How is Kaduna? I hope Kaduna is peaceful this evening.
Yes, why not?
Oh, very good.
This is the first time I'm meeting you in your program, but I used to meet Doris and the other man there.
Utang, Okaba, and Doris.
Honestly, I appreciate your guest.
Thank you very much.
But I want her to pass my message to Mahmoud if she happened to meet him.
Okay, INEC chairman.
Honestly, the vote I casted, it was not count. So by her words, she said that democracy has come to stay.
Yes, that's
I'm
what she
not
said.
doubting her, but she should pass the message to him. It seemed to me that some people are influencing ideas on him. We don't want the way election goes peacefully. We want it to always repeat itself. Secondly, about she said that she's in football. Why not her to come back so that she will come and help Nigerian football to grow up? Have a nice day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kure. Okay, Celia, Kure has gone, but then how do you react to that? Kure wants you back in Nigeria, come and help in football administration.
Well, that would be a dream job, actually, you know. Later, Nageshek, I see you speaking like your Hausa, so but yeah, I see what you mean. Like I said anyway, I made it clear that we have teething problems still with our democracy, but the core of it is it has come to stay. It is here to stay. Our democracy is evolving. Our democracy is going to be, I mean, in 4 years, I have absolutely no doubt that every single vote we count, majority of the votes counted last weekend, of which I observed myself. So I can say that without even mincing words, that majority of the votes counted. And it's only going to get stronger from where we are. It's only going to get stronger. So I have absolutely no doubts about that. If you felt your vote wasn't counted, well, I'm sorry to hear that. But be rest assured that I'm sure Sai is listening to the other chair is listening to this, and amendments will be made. It's going to get stronger and stronger. People should have faith. I was impressed. The amount of Nigerians that were under the sun, waiting, their resilience blew me away.
Unlike before.
No
apathy.
No, but I'm confident we're getting there. And about the football, yes, of course, anything Nigerian, anything green, white, green. We need to win more games. We need to win more matches. When we had Westerhof, you saw the resounding victories we had back in the days, and that was what brought Nigeria on the map as contenders. look at that time till now, what's going on, a lot of inconsistencies. And a nation such as this should be playing on the level of Germany, level of Holland, people who play consistent football. That's what I want to see us doing,
Okay.
And
Let's get this. Hello.
Hello?
Hello. This is Governance Today on Clearview TV. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Benue.
From Benue. All right. What's the name?
Mr. Anthony, okay.
All right. Anthony Celia is here. Please go ahead.
hello, Anthony.
Yeah. I just want to contribute the program you just just now.
Please go ahead.
I want to actually congratulate the lady there, the lady footballer, the lady politician.
Thank you.
She's doing a very wonderful job.
Thank you.
We actually appreciate her.
Thank
However, as an international observer, how do you see the issue of ballot boxing, that is ballot box matter? As it won't be and most especially the use of military in the electoral system in Nigeria. How can it be avoided? It is not really advisable. So once again, I have been watching your program that is wonderful, and I wish you all the.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Well, I think he made mention of involvement of military in politics,
Is
right?
he talking about the violence and snatching
Yes,
of the
the
boxes?
snatching. That was the first
Well,
one.
the areas I observed were calm
Okay.
until when I put the news on later on when I got to my hotel room, and I thought, oh my word, what's going on? I was, to be honest with you, I was completely disappointed. I was completely disappointed
With
because
ballot snatching.
ballot snatching, with the loss of life, it's just inexplicable why someone wants to, why there is violence in politics. We need a lot of work done in terms of making sure that education is very key. We need to educate the average Nigerian that your life is worth everything. There is nothing there for us to kill for. We shouldn't have violence in politics. We shouldn't have intimidation. We shouldn't have thuggery. Politics should be civilized. You go into the polling booth, you vote, you come out, and we need to start sensitizing electorates to understand that there is no place for violence in democracy, because that would only undermine our democracy. But again, it's a combination of everything. When we need to actually start looking at legislations to ensure that we have a limit of money that we spend in elections. When in UK politics, you have a limit of money you spend. You can't spend past a certain amount of money. That way, everybody.
How did they monitor that?
Because you submit all your election expenses a week after election or thereabouts, and that is being looked at, corroborated. Make sure that you haven't spent more than you're supposed to have spent.
These are monies that pass through banks,
Absolutely.
not monies that must have been kept in Ghana must go back.
Absolutely. So when people are talking about INEC, this is not just INEC. This is a country that corruption has eaten it into its fabrics, and we have to unpick all of this. It's not just INEC. People are expecting INEC to be magical. No, everybody has to get, everybody has a collective role to play in this. We have to sanitize the system in the fact that if if politicians are not spending humongous amount of money, then they will understand it's not a do or die affair. When you fail, you come back in the next 4 years. You fail again, you come back in the next 4 years. If it's your passion to be a representative, you were meant to be serving the people.
Yes.
So why are they killing to serve the people? Something is not adding up.
Foresee your way in to serve people.
Well, that doesn't add up, does it? It's meant to be a passion. It's meant to be a vocation where you wake up and I want to go out and serve the people. And it doesn't have anything to do with money. It doesn't have anything to do with thuggery. It doesn't have anything to do with killing or violence. So it's not about INEC. It's all of us.
All right. There is a question I want to still ask about that. Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. I want to Clearview TV. What's the name? Oh, Kure again?
Yes, sir.
All right. It's like we are not yet satisfied.
I appreciate your guest once more.
Okay.
But I have this idea whether she can pass it across to the INEC chairman. Why
Okay.
not we should use this voters card as the way the outside country are using it? You see some people with voters card, but they cannot vote anywhere except in their polling work. Why not try to bring this idea as international observer? If ATM machine can bring details at once, why not do something with that voters card? Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you, Kure. Thank you so much. Very brilliant contribution.
Yeah.
Thank
What
you.
he said already is already on the agenda. So we've done our reports, and we hinted similar things. A lot of things, like I said, will change.
He wants you to take your PVC and vote anywhere in the country.
It should actually be like that, But we are growing. We're making sure we clamp down on loopholes. So it's stringent for a reason at this particular point in time. That doesn't mean that we're not going to, go. We're not going to get to what he's talking about. But to start with, as people who are still evolving, we have to be stringent in the way we operate, so we can actually get our head around what's going on before we can then, be more liberal in terms of what he's talking about.
All right, we're talking about education. If we really want to get around violence or this ballot box, do you think, is it education or poverty? Because that man that has been asked to go and snatch ballot boxes, my sister, maybe he will be paid 20,000, and he does not know when he will ever get that kind of money. You treat that for us, but let me just take this call. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, welcome to Clearview. Clearview. Yes. What's the name?
Hello.
What's the name?
Good evening.
Good evening. What's the name?
I was talking just using one of my lines, like you people are not clear with me.
Okay, very good. You are clearer now.
Okay, I'm clearer. Okay, fine. Mr. Tony, Anthony, okay.
Oh, very
I'm
good.
speaking from Benue once again.
Yes.
My question is that it's like they didn't get my question very clearly. I was saying that the use of military, how can we avoid the use of military? One, that is one.
Yes.
Then secondly, are you hearing me?
Yes, very well.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, you reduce the volume of your TV set, then we hear ourselves well.
I'm doing just that now.
All right, thank you. Please go ahead.
I've refused to completely.
Yes.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that the use of military, and in particular, a lot of people were disenfranchised because they could not even access their PVC. Even though they have given to one, they report with INET, a lot of people keep on going to INET, asking for their PVC. It takes me a whole lot of time to come and transfer my PVC to Benue, and it takes me a whole lot of time to spend about how many weeks going to INET on a daily basis to get my PVC. And so many people could not go because they could not attend their PVC. They keep on directing you from one polling unit to another polling unit, and you will never attend it. So a lot of people do not actually cast their votes because of this problem. How do we eliminate all this inefficiency on the part of INEC?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I know there is improvement in our electoral system, and we really congratulate the winner because it was a broad-based winning. Nobody can dispute our part. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, I think you addressed part of what the gentleman has been talking about, the PVCs, but he's so particular about involvement of the military.
He doesn't want involvement.
He does not want involvement of the military. I'm sure he belongs to the school of thought that it should be police affair, not military.
This is a civic duty. We're not in a war front. We shouldn't have military around. Talking about intimidation, it's part of it.
Military can scare.
Yes,
voters.
but again, I've told I addressed this in the last comment I made. We are still teething. We're having some teething issues, and for us to get rid of the military completely, we must be able to say yes, we're 100% sure we've contained violence. We don't need a military. The people are sure. The people have understood the fact that this is democratic process. This is not violence. The people have understood the fact that there's no need for thuggery. The people, the education I was talking about.
Yes. We're talking about education, and I said, is it not a question of, is it not poverty?
Well,
Because to educate a poverty-stricken individual, it's not an easy task.
well, it depends on how you see poverty, though, because poverty could be financial poverty, could be intellectual poverty. You could be financially poor, but you could be intellectually, affluent. So it's all dependent on how you look at it. I look at it differently because I come from I live in United Kingdom. You don't have to have cash to understand that this and this doesn't make sense.
Here, you need a lot of cash.
Well, we need to have reorientation of the mindset.
Yes.
You actually do not need the cash you think you need, because when you see the consequences of that £20,000 you've collected, if you can see the future, then you begin to understand that it's not worth it. It's actually worth it for me to be able to build this country from the foundations, so that we have a country better for our kids in the future, so that we have a country that can look after us when we're older, so that we have a country that can give equal opportunity to women, a country that you don't have to have a surname to get jobs. When people understand this, they will understand that £20,000 is, someone dropping water on your mouth when you're absolutely thirsty. So.
Okay. Hello? Hello? This is an English program. Can you speak English? Okay, can you speak English? Yes, we have a Hausa program at 9. Yes, the presenter is here. I can hear him roaring with laughter over there. So, Abubakar, your customers are disturbing me here. So, when it's 9 o'clock, Abubakar will be on. Then let there be a lot of assalamu alaikum. Now, we have sorted out that area of intellectual poverty or whatever. How do you have time as a mother for these two beautiful girls?
That's a killer question, isn't it? Well, something is got to give, isn't it? Women are actually talented in terms of multitasking. A woman can multitask, and that's what the men take for granted. The men go about thinking, they're politicians. So the women actually can multitask. The woman can be able, has absolutely no problem looking after her home, doing a job, looking after her parents, looking after her sister-in-laws, brother-in-laws, going out, feeding the kids. I think it's men who actually think straight. Women can multitask, and that's how I do it. Sometimes I'm in the program, I already sent a text, making sure the kids are okay. I've spoken to them on video cam. In the morning I already text, this is what they're going to need for school. I'm constantly juggling. So it is hard, but yes, it's absolutely doable. If your mind is at it, if you have the resolve that this is what I want to do, this is what I want to go for, of course, there's nothing that will be an impediment. The kids you would look after, the family you will look after, yourself you will look after, your career you will pursue. It's all in the mindset.
Now, in some areas, some parts of Nigeria, the girl child is at a disadvantage educationally. I don't know if you should be aware. You should be aware. How can that girl child get assistance?
Well, as you know, we have the March 8th is the International Women's Day. These are some of the issues we use those designated dates to actually raise. The point that women are as valuable as men, the point for gender equality. I have an event I've put together in the chambers. I think it's towards the end of March, because I've got a lot of speaking engagements on that 8th.
You're a lawyer?
No,
okay.
I'm not a lawyer as well. No, not yet.
I want you to scream.
Maybe in the future. But what I mean, I've put an event together as a councillor. I'm pro women empowerment, especially because I was born here. I know, how women struggle to be recognized. I know how women struggle to get to where they want to go to. I know how women have been, not taken extremely seriously like a man would be. So that's one of the things I use my platform as a politician to push that global gender equality. And, voices like myself will be speaking strongly for the women in Nigeria, and of course the women across the globe who are from third world countries or, developing countries.
All right, let's quickly pick this call. Hello? Hello? All right, we lost that. Okay, before we go, I want a situation whereby I want to give you the floor. When we are repeating this edition of the program, there was this a video you sent to me. Brilliant delivery. You were addressing a gathering. We are playing
That's
it
Labour conference.
in the repeat broadcast. Now you have the floor down. Can you talk to Nigerian women in whatever area you want to advise them?
Nigerian women, no. Hey, Joe. I beg, please. You know, you need to stand up for what you believe in. You know, like, you know, everybody know power is not given, power is taken. The men are in charge. They wouldn't just give you the power. I'm not saying to disrespect the men, but I'm asking for you to ask for what you rightfully deserve. The women should have a place in the Nigerian society. I know that we do have a place, but we have to be seen as equals. We have to be seen as equals. The women have to be heard. You know, the women are the women are the future. You know, you cannot dismiss over 50% of the population.
The men are not future.
You guys are already there.
Okay.
But without the women, I don't think we're going to get to where we're going to. So women, we need to do this for ourselves. We need to come together and work as a body and work as a unit and, you know, force our way through those doors where those decisions are being made and insist that our voices are being heard. That's what I want us to do as Nigerian women. I'll be there with us fighting on the front lines until this happens.
All right, you gave us mark to INEC. In that case, what I want to say, I will say it after this call. This should be our last call. Hello? Hello? Hello, this is Clearview. All right. Since you gave kudos to INEC, I believe you are happy with the outcome of the election results. Can you congratulate Mr. President?
Well, you're putting words into my mouth. I didn't say, you know, I'm not saying I'm not happy with the outcome. I'm not saying I'm happy with the outcome. What I'm saying is what I observed, I was happy with.
Okay.
And that's how I'm going to leave it. But of course, yes, congratulations to Mr. President. And I think every Nigerian, whether you're happy with the result or you're not happy with the result, or you're thinking maybe, you know, something's gone wrong somewhere, at the end of the day, we have the official results. And at the end of the day, he's officially the #1 person in, you know, Nigeria. And I urge us to come together and just pray for him, you know, in his 4 years tenure, so he can govern Nigeria to the best of his abilities. And I think that's what we should be doing. Any other thing apart from that would be, you know,
right.
the wrong thing.
we could not talk with this gentleman the other time. Maybe he's here now. Hello? Hello? Well, viewers, it's on that note we want to really thank you for being part of this special edition of the program. Celia Hibbert has been my guest. She is a UK-based counselor, Nigerian born. We are so proud of her. So, Celia, thank you very much for finding time to come.
Thank you very much for having me.
How soon are you coming to Nigeria again? Because I know you are jetting out of the country tomorrow morning.
I'm going I'm going to Ghana tomorrow morning, then back to Lagos, and then jet off on Tuesday. But yes, I will be in Nigeria in a short period of time.
Okay. So we really want to thank you for coming. Thank you so much. And out there, we thank you for your time. I am Ojo Bello. Bye for now.